Welcome to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex and today we're going to be looking at WrestleQuest on the Nintendo Switch. Now a massive thank you to Mega Cat Studios and Skybound Games who sponsored this video asking me to tell you all about this new release, and it was an easy one to say yes to as it's been high up on my most anticipated games list for 2023 now for a good while. I'm going to be running you through what this is all about today, the story, the visual design, even the gameplay, so if you do enjoy this video consider subscribing, helps the channel a huge amount. And also let me know in the comments who your favourite wrestler is. Let's start with the story, because that's perhaps where this game surprised me the most. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention or I was blinded by the fantastic idea of wrestling meets RPG. But it's actually set within a toy box world, meaning the characters you see and you meet, they are all action figures, and in this world, wrestling is everything. It is life. If you don't partake in it, you at a minimum love to watch it. Now in the opening hours, then the big story, it's really split between two characters. That's Macho Man, out to wrestle his way to the top as a new contender of the sport, and then Brink Logan, a man who knows he's meant for greatness but works for his dad's org and often must take a fall. So now we must battle and make a name for ourselves and push back against a corporation that wants wrestling matches to become essentially, I guess, fake and lean more into entertainment. It's tongue-in-cheek, that is for sure, and also good stuff, and even the toy element, don't let that put you off because it allows them to compile wrestlers from different periods and of course play into the nostalgia. Most of these characters then as well are from my era. In fact, I met Macho Man, Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart as a kid, so it got me personally right in the feels. With the characters then, as I mentioned, Macho Man and Brink Logan, the plays on the names here are clear, but do not let that deceive you into thinking you won't see any real big names. To name just a few, Macho Man, Jake the Snake, the Legion of Doom, Andre the Giant, Sergeant Slaughter, they are all here amongst many others. You are simply trying to reach their status in this world, to be recognized on their level. This is just the beginning as well. They licensed likenesses and names of legends basically spanning WWE, ECW, AEW, WCW, and many more. Some of them are going to be brief cameos, others central figures. In total as well, you can expect to uncover 12 playable characters. Gameplay then under this, I never thought about it myself, but the second I heard about a wrestling RPG, the idea just made complete sense. I questioned why it hadn't existed already, and as I said, it flew up my most wanted list, and if you see back to my anticipated games, a 2023 video at the beginning of the year, you will see proof of that. Now the SNES era is clearly the influence when it comes to the mechanics and the gameplay on offer, with a structured approach to the genre, an overworld map, locations to explore, and dungeons to brave. That's a formula, personally, that will always work. These locations then are populated with places to see, characters to meet, stores to visit, and side quests to pick up. Something you'll actually want to do to level up your characters, but also just to meet some of the cast. It's easy to look at this and focus on the pro wrestlers on offer as well, but there's definitely a likeable cast of characters designed purely for this world, those you will be playing as. Already though, I've visited the snowy mountains with yetis, a town that's full of crime and gangs, and areas where statues fill courtyards celebrating the greats. My favourite thing about each location is that it's tied to a few pro organisations that actually compete in this world, and you're going to need to visit each and kind of battle it out to rise up the ranks or maybe gain entry to that next competition. When it comes to dungeons then, these are no doubt what you would expect. Exploration, finding more than enough loot, and crossing paths with enemies that require a quick smackdown. These are visible on the map as well, and fights only commence should you connect with them. The battles admittedly can be tough to avoid as they do fly towards you if you even slightly break their line of vision, but the reward is more than worth it. There's cash, goods, and experience. They've also kept character setup here relatively simple, which is a good thing. It keeps the game moving, but it features everything you would expect with a slew of items and equipment that can be attached to your character that change your core stats. I've also started to find now for the boss encounters and the mini bosses as well, I do need to switch things up, and you want strategy like this because it's part of the fun over just blasting through things. There's a few boss encounters that actually kind of had me hitting a game over screen, but once I made a few tweaks and changes, I was able to persevere. One last quick mention for dungeons then as well, but you can expect to see as well environmental puzzles. Some are more navigation based, others will actually require you to uncover, let's say, different areas, items, maybe switches within the map to progress. One of my favourites was actually an ice world where you would have to strategically place yourself on the ice and get to the other side, but as you're moving forward you are slipping down, and it's very possible to fall down to the location you was at last. Basically it would set you back and that is always going to add a little bit of tension to this exploration. This gets me onto the combat then, and this is for me the highlight of WrestleQuest. It is turn-based combat, but it packs action elements. That constantly gives you this sense of being the driving force behind the heavy hits you are delivering. They are relatively simplistic in controls, but they are more challenging than you also may anticipate. Namely though, when you choose an attack, your character runs into battle. When that move is being delivered, button prompts flash on the screen that you must match. Now, the more complex the attack, the more stages that are involved at this point. This all plays into that sense of risk and reward, but basically the more prompts you hit, the more damage you do deliver. Special moves then push this even further. They are known as gimmicks, and rounding out the combat then at a very high level, of course, there's a lot going on here. We do get items that we will need and characters of different classes, such as those with a focus on healing. We also though do get tag team moves as well. These will put a character into a ready position on their turn until you've set up the second party or third party even involved, and that works incredibly well. As you can imagine, the wrestling theme, you really want to see some of these characters teaming up, and it always delivers. Some of the enemies then are wrestlers, of course, but others actually take on different forms, such as toys from the 90s. I saw sharks that reminded me of Tamagotchis, and characters from Sesame Street, such as Oscar the Grouch, though, of course, not licensed, just let's say strikingly similar. These you can pummel into oblivion, and once their health meter is drained, it is game over for them. The wrestlers, however, you must pin them, and it's a quick moving bar, and you're required to hit a moving target 3 times to win the match. This is actually something I found surprisingly tough at points throughout my time with the game. I just couldn't quite get my targeting down. I did get there in the end, but it's definitely something you'll need to practice at. This is rounded out then with the hype meter at the bottom of the screen, which determines whose side the audience is on, and should you be winning, you can expect passive buffers to assist you. Boss encounters then are where they really dial things up, and I think for wrestling fans, this is where you will find the most enjoyment, as you can actually customize your opening, what it calls loadout, but basically what your wrestler does as they enter the ring, meaning get the crowd hyped up with an intro, and you can select here some sort of intro piece, the outro, a passive ability, and then an intermediate. I had lights flashing, music playing, tons of chairs flying in, and fireworks going off, and the best bit was I was controlling it myself by hitting different face buttons. The battles themselves largely the same, though of course more challenging, but you'll also get optional dramatic moments here to complete. These provide reward if you can take on these different actions. One example is it's to let an enemy break out of a pin to really get the crowd going, and in return you'll get some clothing. So for gameplay then, look, as I said, it's of course a sponsored piece, this video, but as I opened with, I've been having a blast with this game. I grew up on wrestling, I love JRPGs, and this is just a fantastic idea and combination. I think genre fans even will enjoy it too, even if they don't have that passion for wrestling, so do keep that in mind. With that though, I do quickly now want to jump into the visuals and the audio. Visuals and audio then, I'm a big fan of pixel style games, and given the theme of a toy world here, it allows them to really kind of get creative and even demonstrate the size of some of these enemies. Just the designs are basically out there at times. A highlight for me was actually quite early in the game, a huge rat as I traversed a scrapyard desert location. I also really like the fact when health is low, postures and expressions begin to reflect this. Locations then themselves are varied, as I said earlier, each represents a different wrestling organization, and within that 5-hour mark I've seen barren landscapes to bustling and dangerous cities to ice worlds to, again, a big garden with these massive statues. Menus then are kept simple and easy to navigate, which is always a good thing to see. It goes for pretty much any time you'll need a menu here, from stores to setting up those intro animations to character loadouts. During battles in particular as well, then there's some really nice visual effects. The camera is going to be zooming in and out. The screen can actually close in around the characters with darkness as these different moves play out, and each match has a different environment reflective of the location you are currently in. I do quickly want to mention the sound design as well then, because this is a top quality job here. Each of the moves delivers a nice impactful sound. There's almost a bass tone alongside something I guess a little more sharp and painful sounding. That really just kind of worked for me. Environments have effects to bring them to life, and then there's a fantastic audio field for the different crowds that you will be battling in front of. It's all topped off then with a great soundtrack that actually plays into more styles than I expected. I heard, of course, some rock music, but there's a lot of chiptune sneaking in and hip hop and even atmospheric as well, so I think overall it is great work. So that's WrestleQuest, and if you are a wrestling and RPG fan, there is no doubt this is a game you'll want to check out. It's probably on your wish list already. Now, if you're just into the RPG element of the equation, I'd still be taking a look, given the game has launched now as well. There's a ton of reviews out there if you do want to learn more about it. I've also put a link to the eShop in the pinned comment for you all, which should give you a good description of what to expect from the adventure ahead. So with that, let me know if WrestleQuest is heading into your library in the comments below, and also remember, let me know your favourite wrestler. Just a quick way to kind of age yourself, but to age myself here, Bret Hart. I'll always remember that fight against the British Bulldog at SummerSlam. He was also one of my personal favourites, but my fandom for Hart kind of spiked when I got to see him live. I got to go to a show as a kid, and my dad actually picked me up the old sunglasses with a rubber band at the back that would just tear every single hair on your head out every time you put them on. So with that luck, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews, deals, news and lists daily, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.